That was a Jewish tribe. You heard about that?
I'm listening to you.
Okay. No, I just want to know you from you. Okay. Okay. So these scriptures, this clay is written on a clay cylinder. Dates back to 586. If you now go to the book of Esther in the Bible, and the book of Esther in the Bible was when the Jews were kept captive. There was a certain Jew who was named Haman. He was against the Jews. He was a Babylonian. He was very much against the Jews. He wouldn't see the Jews going back to their land until Queen Esther. No, she was not the queen at that time. She was the daughter of Mordecai. Mordecai went to Esther and said, if you implore the king to let the people go, that was one of the contributory factors why King Cyrus agreed to let the Jews go back to their own land. Now, I wonder if Jerome had insight into that, documents that exist, because even if you go, there are other non-canonical books in the Jewish literature, like the Targums. There's the first Targum of Esther and there's the second Targum of Esther. Now, there are even things written there that you would read in the Quran. When, for instance, when Queen Sheba came to visit Solomon, and she walked across that sea of glass that was like mirrors, and she lifted up her skirts. It's written in the Quran. I can't know what the surah is. That is exactly taken from the second Targum of Esther. So at that time, even at that time, they were writing scriptures well known. You see, if I not...
But let me just tell you what you've said. You've said a lot of things unrelated to the history of the Bible. I'll tell you why. What you have said now was this, that all the history written about the Bible in the New Bible Dictionary, all the history of the Bible written in the Bible Dictionary of the Catholics are not true. Because according to all the mainstream churches, biblical history, I'm not talking about secular history now, I'm talking of biblical history coming from the churches. They say none of the original writings of any book of the Bible that were written by the inspired authors themselves are in existence. None of them has survived. This I can take out now the books for you and show you. So, and then they date the oldest Hebrew manuscripts before the Dead Sea Scroll to 916 AD. That I can also show you from biblical history. Now, the oldest, as you said, we know supposed to be the Dead Sea Scrolls. But the book of Esther, which you have mentioned, do not form part of the findings of the Dead Sea Scrolls. That you also know.
It's only part of the prophet Isaiah.
That you must know, it is not there. That you know. So, if anybody wants to argue that the Dead Sea Scroll biblical documents were the true copies of the Bible as such, excluding the book of Esther makes that Dead Sea Scrolls then null and void. You understand? So, what I'm asking, if I wanted to make it much more easier for you.
I want to make it easy for me?
Yes, I'll tell you
easier
why.
Than this.
Easier than this, because this is a heavy topic on the history which you say you are not prepared, but surely you would be prepared to talk about the contents of the original sin of Adam, and then we can analyze whether Adam sinned or whether Adam did not sin. How would you like to do that?
Okay, let me just get back to my first point. You've shot that down without any authority about fulfilled prophecy. So you shot that down. The second thing, why I believe the Bible, is a result of eyewitness reports. People who actually witnessed what happened wrote it down. If you take the four Gospels, for instance, if the four Gospels had to be written word for word in agreement, Matthew with Mark, Mark with Luke, and Luke with John, if they agreed 100%, you would say that's falsified. They got together. But they wrote from what they perceived from different contexts of their different backgrounds. If there was a motor accident on the corner here and you had 4 witnesses, and the 4 witnesses would say, we are willing to testify in court about this accident. If they testify in court, all 4 of them, that the accident happened at exactly 2.5 minutes past 2. The driver came through a stop street at about 30 kilometers per hour. When he got out of the car, I saw that he was intoxicated because he was falling all over the show. And I even noticed that his car was unlicensed. All 4 of them say the exact same words. What is the presiding magistrate or judge going to think of the witness?
Can I come in? Can I come in?
No, just my last point on the witness. Eyewitness reports. The third reason why I believe that the Bible is true is historical reports. People who were not mentioned in the Bible, people who wrote history. The Roman, do you know who Flavius Josephus?
Yes,
the Jewish general.
Yes, I got his book here.
Yeah, his history. There's Cornelius Tacitus. There's Pliny the Young.
Philippine, how you call it? Philippine, what is his name?
Yeah.
Philippine. What is his name? The historian?
Yeah, Philippi.
Yes, I can't pronounce. I went to Sabi, so you must please forgive me for my pronunciation.
They wrote history that corresponds with what. And then there's another point that I haven't mentioned yet. Archaeology. The diggings that they did in the Middle East when they unearthed the city of Jericho. All of the diggings, the archaeology that was done in the Middle East, all points, especially in around Jerusalem, all points to what happened in the time of the Bible. Artifacts that were dug out, on which there were writings of certain scribes, all corresponds with what happened in the situation in the history of the Middle East.
Now can I come in? Now you have said, the first point is that you believe that if the writers were writing the same thing, then they would have been copying one another. That is your first point.
Not reliable witnesses.
They are not reliable. We are not dealing with reliable witnesses. We are dealing with inspired men. Inspired by God above witnesses. Now, if I show you that in the 4 Gospels, all 4 writers of the different Gospels writes about what was the plate, the board that they put on top of Jesus' head. A written notice in a grammatical sentence with specific words. If you have witnesses of an accident in the street, and there's a street name, David Bed Crescent. The one witness say in Jan van Riebeeck Crescent. The other witness say in Wales Street. The next witness come, he says he's in Pretoria Street. The other witness come, he say no, the accident happened in Verwoerd Street. What would you say? Were any of them in the street of David Bed? Did they see that board? What would you say?
But what were they writing on?
Please, you have referred to a road accident. I'm also referring to that same road accident that you are referring to. I'm referring to the same witnesses that writes different on that same accident. But when they gave their statement, they all supposed to have seen the accident happen in David Bed Street. But they gave the street name differently from the 4 and different to what was written on the board. Now, let us argue. Let us argue. Just listen to me, Mr. Truter. I can take out the Bible and I can show you this. This is not fictitious thing that I'm telling you. This is in your...
Listen to the man, he gave you a hearing. I mean, it's fair.
But you don't want to listen. He can understand fully what I'm saying. He knows that on the head of Jesus' cross, there was a name what was written. Now say for example that we will agree that one of the 4 wrote the truth. Say we agree that out of the 4 Gospels, one is the true name on the board above Jesus' head. But the other 3 cannot be the truth because they got a different reading. There are 4 different readings in the New Testament. We cannot define which one of the 4 is the truth. Because as I've said to you, if the accident happened in David Bed Street and all the 4 witnesses saw the street's name on the board, then if one have said David Bed and the other said other names, then we could identify the one that is correct, right? But if all 4 has a name that we cannot identify now, how are we going to believe the story? You understand? Now the other thing, your second point was? Your second point was?
The non-biblical historical evidence.
Yeah, Josephus. Joseph.
Clearly it's Josephus.
Now you know Josephus' story about Jesus, specifically written in his book. It has been an accepted and agreed fact today that Josephus never wrote it. You know it better. You are a better historian. I went over to Sabi.
You're learning me a lot.
I have only went to Sabi.
Yeah, I know. I haven't even been to school. According to you now. I've never attended school. I haven't seen the inside of a school. You're teaching me right from scratch now.
Carry on it. I mean, I don't know this history.
But you see,
I listened to the example Mr. Truter used.
You see, there was a documentary made by Giza Bernays on the evidence of Jesus. He's also a writer, researcher of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he has just finished his whole book on the complete Dead Sea Scrolls. I've also got that. And he has clearly shown the reasons why that story of Josephus cannot be accepted as true, because he was a Jew. And a Jew would never have written in that vein, and he has given a full reason. There's full reasons that nobody can refute, that portion of Josephus' works cannot be his. Now, you see, then you come to archaeology, things digging out of the ground. If I dig the ground and I take this box, I got the box. Right there, I dig up the box from the ground. Now, that box can't talk. That box can't talk. It comes out of the ground, but it can't talk. I must now give the writings. This box was made by Jan van Riebeeck. The box has never said he was made by Jan van Riebeeck. I must say Jan van Riebeeck made it. It is up to you that listen to what I have written and read it that agrees it's Jan van Riebeeck that made the box. But because I'm such a renowned archaeologist, you dare not refute what I say. But you know for a fact that the box can never talk. Now, if any of your examples were true, then I would have found it in the biblical books where the Protestants, I can show you the New Bible Dictionary is compiled by 4.5 pages of the best scholars in the entire world where Christians exist, has come together from different parts of the world and compiled that book. And they failed. And they failed to use your examples to substantiate the truth of the Bible. You understand? Now,
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Oh, you don't understand, but I mean, I can't understand it either.
Can I just say something on that point? Do you don't know Lee Strobel?
You know, I read so many
Yeah,
thousands.
now you haven't read his book that was released this year.
No.
He wrote 2 books. He's a journalist for the New York Times. He's also the editor of the legal department of the New York Times in America. I know if I say America, you put your hackles up.
Well, you're talking about the people that murdered, massacred millions of people in America. You're talking about them. I know about them.
I expected a different For a learned man, that doesn't get the reply. Not at all. I'm trying to tell you something.
What about 23 million Red Indians? That was the last I heard. Okay.
Can I just tell you about Lee Strobel? Lee Strobel has just released a book. It's called The Case for the Real Jesus. And I would suggest you go to the exclusive books and you buy yourself, I'll give you 143 Rand, and you go buy that book. And you sit down.
I very appreciative of that.
Yeah, and you sit down and then you read that book and find what your literature is dated. And you look at the research, you know, I keep on saying that the World Wide Web has made our planet Earth into a little global village. We can dig back into history and language and the origins of language and cultures many thousands of years ago. We can do that. So I would suggest you go research the 124,000 existing manuscripts or portions of manuscripts at least of the Old Testament. The 124,000. The other thing about the eyewitness reports, you carry on about the name plaque that was above the cross. What was the main message that the 4 gospel writers were bringing in? What was written above the cross, or were they eyewitnesses to the crucifixion?
No, that answer is simply like this. When you start with Matthew, the book of Matthew was not written by Matthew. The book of Mark supposed to have been written and based on the work of Mark. But that I can also show you from the Catholic history.
How old is your sources? That is my point.
Sorry, if I can put this off, can you bring those books to show Mr. Truter?
You want to see?
No, I really don't want to see.
No, because Mr. Truter, he can show you the
No. Listen to me. Listen to what
if you tell me 2006 or 2007.
Mr. Truter, I am reading a lot of books. I'm busy now with the most latest Christian arguments on the truth of the Bible. I'm busy now.
Can I just ask you a question, disappointed? Why are you doing this? Do you want to refute Christianity? It's a false religion. The Christians, billions of Christians, all believe in a false God and a false Christ. And
they are not billions. They are not billions of Christians. Huh? They are not billions.
No. That
is
the only thing that Muslims have been trying for centuries to refute.
No, that you see, that I've read in your book.
Yeah.
You see.
You know,
but you see.
I don't understand why.
Okay, let him answer. Let him answer.
Why am I sitting here?
No, answer.
Why am I sitting here?
Why?
Why am I sitting here today? You tell me, why am I sitting here? Because you want to shoot down everything and
listen.
Of course you do that. Mr. Ibrahim, you are doing that. You said now, this is not true. But I believe a lie.
But
then I believe a lie.
If it is not a lie,
but you say it's a lie.
You see, the 24,000 manuscripts that they, or bits or pieces that they have, all put together, they only date back for the longest period of the Old Testament.
Careful now.
1,500.
You have to go do your homework again.
Well,
50 AD, 60 AD, 70 AD. The oldest one happens to be John, which is 100 AD. You'll have to go back and do your homework over again, Mr.
Listen, 100 AD is not enough.
You have to do your homework.
What year are we now?
We are in 2008.
Yes. Now look here, I'll do you a favor. I'll date your documents 2005 years. How do you like that? I date your documents back of the Old Testament to 2,500 years. Is that not lenient?
Gentlemen, what am I doing?
Mr. Truter, you see the point of the matter is, we want to understand you, but you don't want to refute. We're not refuting anything.
I just gave you my testimony or my assertion.
Mr. Truter, what we want to know is that what you believe in, can you substantiate? Now every
Of
time
course
you
I
go,
can
that's
substantiate.
what we want.
My personal experience.
No,
How can you refute
No,
my
but you have to have some basis of belief.
Experience.
But how can you refute my personal
But I
experience?
can also tell you many things,
No,
Mr. Truter, and you won't be able to either.
I could be
Mr.
lying.
Truter,
Yeah.
No, you're not lying. That's your
Yeah,
we don't
we
say-
never
we
say
never
that.
use that word.
Yeah,
We
you
never
saying
use
that. We never said things like that.
You use that word. Now you see, you can ask here. I can bring you now Muslims, not Christian Muslims. Then they will tell you the experience in the Krama. You know the Krama?
I know the Krama.
Yes, you know the
24
Krama.
Krama.
Now they have experience where they go inside the Kramat and talk with the Kramat. Then I'm standing outside the Kramat. Then I'm talking with the Kramat outside. Then they don't know the Kramat is not inside. Now I can tell you experience like that. I mean, you can't refute it. Nobody can refute it. That is my experience. Whether it is the truth or not is irrelevant, because I am conveying what I say, what I cannot do. I cannot make you believe it. That I cannot do. You see, you can have your experience, but you cannot make us believe your experience. That is the point. Unless it is built on sound evidence.
No, I just, in concluding, because I am leaving now, you see what this is.
Yes.
Okay? It looks quite expensive.
No,
Normally when it-
I've got very much experience about expensive pens, so I know it's not.
It's not. But it normally comes in a dark color to make it look expensive. It's got gold trimmings on there. It looks very expensive. You know what the purpose of this, what purpose it serves.
Well, you can have it as an ornament also.
Okay, but now what is the main purpose? Why was it designed?
To write.
Right. Okay. Now, if I had to give this pen to you, and I tell you, write your name for me, please. Will you do that? Will you write your name for me?
Yes.
Okay, that's loaded.
But if it is not writing, where you want me to write it on for you? I write on my gentleman Arabic book. I only write Arabic.
You must write Arabic.
This pen can't write.
No, it can't write.
I can see.
In other words, your experience, you have experienced that pen now. You saw it was a pen, you knew for what purpose it was.
It is an ornament.
That's what I say. You personally.
So I also knew. You see, you couldn't trick me because I knew that it can be an ornament.
Your personal
And
experience
then
now is that it doesn't
my
write.
experience is true.
So your personal
The pen's
experience.
supposed to write, but as I said, it can be an ornament.
My personal experience, you cannot refute. You have no experience. You haven't experienced my experience. Like you haven't experienced this pen doesn't write. Huh?
Yeah.
This was your personal experience now. So you can't
No,
refute.
but I-
Mr. Ram, can he write?
Okay.
Can you write with it to show us its works?
It doesn't work. It doesn't
No,
work.
but why are you carrying it around?
Why am I
As an
carrying it
ornament.
around? As an ornament.
But now that's exactly what Mr. Ibrahim. But Mr. Truter, you know what? I think here you are overreacting. Really,
No, I'm
really.
not overreacting.
No, you are.
No,
Really,
I
sir.
don't.
With respect to you and your age, and I mean, as a guest of ours, what I feel is that you are overreacting.
Can we have tea now? Can
Yeah,
we
we'll have tea. We'll
have
have tea. We'll have tea.
I'll tell
But
you what.
no, Mr. Truter, please allow us also a few words edgewise. You know.
There is
No.
There is
No,
my
no,
friend. There is my very good friend who has brought me here under false pretenses.
No. You wrote a reply, so that's what we wanted to discuss.
He should have said to me, we are inviting you for a lunch so that you can reply to what you
Yeah, that's what. Did you say that, sir?
No,
What did you say? All right, you speak. What did you say?
he didn't.
What did you say?
No, but he didn't, let me tell you,
Yes, I
Mr.
said that,
Truter. He did not know. He did not know. You see, for me, you can give anything now. And within a few minutes, I will be able to reply to you. Without going and make a special preparation, because all the research work, like you have done, must have done also research work over the years. You must have done research. And so have I.
Writing scriptures well now. You see, if I not...
No, but let me just tell you what you've said. You've said a lot of things unrelated to the history of the Bible. I'll tell you why. What you have said now was this, that all the history written about the Bible in the New Bible Dictionary, all the history of the Bible written in the Bible dictionaries of the Catholics are not true, because according to all the mainstream churches, biblical history, I'm not talking about secular history now, I'm talking of biblical history coming from the churches, they say none of the original writings of any book of the Bible that were written by the inspired authors themselves are in existence. None of them has survived. This I can take out now the books for you and show you. So, and then they date the oldest Hebrew manuscripts before the Dead Sea Scroll to 916 AD. That I can also show you from biblical history. Now, the oldest, as you said, we know supposed to be the Dead Sea Scrolls. But the book of Esther, which you have mentioned, do not form part of the findings of the Dead Sea Scrolls. That you also know.
It's only part of the prophet Isaiah.
That you must know, it is not there. That you know. So, if anybody wants to argue that the Dead Sea Scroll biblical documents were the true copies of the Bible as such, excluding the book of Esther makes that Dead Sea Scrolls then null and void. You understand? So, what I'm asking, if I wanted to make it much more easier for you.
I want to make it easy for me.
Yes, I'll tell you
Easier
why.
than this.
Easier than this, because this is a heavy topic on the history which you say you are not prepared, but surely you would be prepared to talk about the contents of the original sin of Adam, and then we can analyze whether Adam sinned or whether Adam did not sin. How would you like to do that?
Okay, let me just get back to my first point. You've shot that down without any authority. It was one of the contributory factors why King Cyrus agreed to let the Jews go back to their own land. Now, I wonder if Jerome had insight into that, documents that exist, because even if you go, there are other non-canonical books in the Jewish literature, like the Targums. There's the first Targum of Esther, and there's the second Targum of Esther. Now, there are even things written there that you would read in the Quran. When, for instance, when Queen Sheba came to visit Solomon, and she walked across that sea of glass that was like mirrors, and she lifted up her skirts. It's written in the Quran. I don't know what the surah is. That is exactly taken from the second Targum of Esther. So at that time, even at that time, that was a Jewish tribe. You heard about that?
I'm listening to you.
Okay. No, I just want to know you from you. Okay. Okay. So these scriptures, this clay is written on a clay cylinder, dates back to 586. If you now go to the book of Esther in the Bible, and the book of Esther in the Bible was when the Jews were kept captive. There was a certain Jew who was named Haman. He was against the Jews. He was a Babylonian. He was very much against the Jews. He wouldn't see the Jews going back to their land until Queen Esther. No, she was not the queen at that time. She was the daughter of Mordecai. Mordecai went to Esther and said, if you implore the king to let the people go, that